We have this interesting, for me, the first interaction with this collaboration, I found it quite interesting to bring together 3 universities in the Netherlands that are known for certain core competencies to develop multidisciplinary research centers, which have then grown over the last 10 years, essentially. So I'm sure you have seen this term, International Center for Frugal Innovation, which actually was born out of this strategic alliance between Erasmus University, Rotterdam, Leiden University, and Delft University of Technology. All of these universities are in the Netherlands for our African colleagues here.
My expectations for the workshop is that people will be able to come up with innovative ways to do research. Research that is carried out in a very different way than the way it is done conventionally. So it's not so much expert-oriented or emanating from experts, where then the subjects look like the studied population looks like their subjects, but rather that it's a collaborative research, an exchange between the people being studied and the people studying, but more so that the insights from the grassroots are the ones that will inform the research outcomes. Now, but most importantly, I'm looking forward to a discussion on how research, on what kind of urban research we need to carry out in Africa at this particular moment.
And for me, the value of this particular conference, of this workshop, is to see how our small research links to that bigger questions that all the cities in this region face. In my opinion, if we continue governing and managing cities the way we do, at the moment they will most likely not be very sustainable and not be very resilient by 2050. So I very much look forward to discussing it with you and to see how the research that Alice presented links up to the bigger question that this conference has.
We are, in a way, taking quite an experimental approach. Rather than prescribing what kind of research network we want, who we want to be involved, what thematics it should focus on, what countries it should cover, etc. We thought we want a research network that is bottom-up, that we're able to bring partners on an equal platform to brainstorm together on what would work for us all. What kind of network would we look to build? What kind of impact do we want to have? And we'd like you to put on your brainstorming and thinking caps and bring your experience from other research networks that you've been involved in. I'm sure many of us are also part of other urban research networks. Is this going to be just another urban research network? Is there value in that? How would we like to differentiate it from the ones that already exist?
Co-creation and co-production of knowledge. So the definition now is that this is where researchers and research users work closely together to produce knowledge. So it's also interesting to first identify who are stakeholders, research users, research end users. These are specific knowledge that would change your research strategy as well. Many feel it is most collaborative and effective way to research to have an impact, like we talked about, and compared to the more linear model of researchers doing research to have an output.
It was good that this team is also critical of their own practices. And they were saying, as we research and try to do action in urban research, what may a just city look like? The way we are governing cities, and it was also brought out in that presentation, will not lead us to that just transition that we are talking about. Our current practices will not lead us there.
Looking at 50 years to come now, the Association of African Planning Schools in the future needs to be creative and also disruptive in terms of focus, innovation, inclusive, and also have impact. The 2050 landscape cannot allow us not to operate outside this. So if we're thinking that way, we must be keenly focusing on being impactful in the way we work. Thank you.
What a network could help with, I think, is generate impact of the research. because despite all the research being done, the improvements in Matareduc are very slow, right? So we hope that the network can help bridge between the community research that has been done and policymakers. And maybe even between the research that has been done and the way we think about how cities develop in UN guidelines, in other guidelines. So we think this network will be very important, particularly in multiplying the impact that we have and linking up to other research in other settlements, in other cities that has been done.
This invitation from Nuvoni and this research network we want to create, it signifies that there is a crucial importance on involvement of multiple disciplines so that we can have a better network, but also whatever research which can be done within the urban context can be multidisciplinary and also involve different backgrounds, because in order to realize the built environment, there are different actors. So we need everyone to be part and parcel of this symposium. And that's why when we had in 3 days discussions, you can see a lot of issue of inclusivity has come out very loud, and participation and multidisciplinary actions. So that's why we think that it is very important for us who are coming from the public sector, because we are responsible for the policy formulation, registration and regulation formulations. So we need to engage different people, because those policies, those laws, those regulations are meant to be implemented by the people.
So as we sit here to develop a learning platform, we should be thinking about the right data, the right timing, and about the right channel to use to communicate our research to decision makers.
We can create formats that are very effective in communicating with the youth or with particular demographics, but it should be also one of our key focus to create those outputs for policymakers. They have been identified as a key component of making this network a success story.
When you say the community themselves are collecting their own information, they sit down and decide what they think is important for the policy actors to act. Otherwise, the discussion sometimes, in my view, of a need for a policy has become an excuse for the government to deny communities resources. Because the same government, using the political space, will release resources for development. But when it's structured in a way that it has to follow a certain formal way, then policy is used as an excuse. So what community research does is translate the power of community people to say, in real sense, that we walked around our community, we have counted our houses, and we have seen we are 2,000 households sharing only one public facility.
I think bringing more people to the research besides the researchers, so people to advocate, to engage with the community, to translate the knowledge, to do all of this work, because it is a teamwork, it will cause more impact, and it will maybe drive more change from the bottom up. So if you translate this knowledge, it is a very important finding. So you bring it to the community, so the community raises to the government. I know it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, but it should. But this is an effort, like bringing this team together to go beyond the publication, and translate this knowledge and advocate for this knowledge and advocate for what's found. I think it's a good way to start.
I think this network has a huge potential to change the discourse, and it's about time we looked out of the box and seen what is it that we are not doing right from a research perspective, what is it that we are not getting, especially in terms of the knowledge we are not generating that can inform policy, so the situation changes. Because so far we've carried out a lot of urban research, it has informed policy, but not so much is changing amongst the urban population in terms of situation and their status, and that needs to change. And perhaps it's the research that we are carrying out which is not very innovative. So I think it's a time to change for a paradigm shift, and also the techniques we use for research, so that we can get different insights that can then inform policy